So this is Married at First Sight, season 10, episode 21. Actually, is it too soon for me to be in that situation again now? And like, I'm asking my friends and stuff like, how do you know? And they're like, you just know. And she's like, I just know. And Leah's like, Bunda feeling bad, like I'm actually peed off. And that's why I was hesitant to say that I loved him. I was hesitant to say that I loved him. Like, I completely understand why he's fed up. But then I also completely understand why she's like, I can't win with you. Someone's been saying to you for the last week and a half now that like I need some deep conversation, I need something, and you're sat on the sofa telling them that like I've not been able to be my real self, and you had ample opportunity. Like it's just you and her in the apartment. There's nobody else there. So what else do you need? But I did think, Ashley, why are you talking? Because if you're not going to give me the full story, I beg you just... But then she goes, Julia-Ruth went out with some of the other wives and whatever else that she fancies Steven. He has to stay for another 2 weeks so she could be here for partner swap. I beg your pardon. No, I was like, Paul ain't said nothing for a while. Well, I know now why. Because he was waiting and set for Julia-Ruth. So when he calls him over, he's just like, now, just let you guys know, this will be challenging. I'm like, buckle me up. If I ever see him on that retreat, you see all the apologies that I made, and how I was like, actually, you know what, Divarni, I will take them back with the haste to which Julia-Ruth told everybody else that she never liked you. Because what do you mean? Wagwan people dems. So this is Married at First Sight, season 10, episode 21. And I feel like I've just seen a message from my friend, who's just messaged me. I'm guessing about episode 21, and I feel that this episode is going to be the one that goes down as the Red Wedding episode. All my Game of Thrones fans, stand up, stand on up. I mean, look, I could go through it in order. Well, I'm going to try and go through it in order. But I can't remember the exact order that everything went through. But all I do remember is I was sat glued because I was tired. It was last night. I'd finished watching Big Brother and some other things I need to edit, as well as applying for roles and stuff and that kind of thing. So I had a very busy day yesterday. But I still managed to find time to watch this episode, and oh my sweet Lord. Like, I feel like everything I was saying in the previous episode about how I feel about watching these kind of shows and whether or not they are they're designed to be fake and stuff. I feel that justice has kind of been done because elements of Julia-Ruth that came out in that conversation, again, unless it's all been orchestrated to make good TV, which again it could be. Do you know what I mean? That double bluff, that we're gonna act like we're not involved, but actually we hired you to be the person that's gonna do all these kind of things. I just don't buy that that's the case. It seems to be that she has been called out for it, but oh my gosh, the level of popcorn and juice. My belly was full when I was watching this last night, but I still had to pause it. Yeah, go and get some of the apple cobbler that my mum made, some custard, just so I could really enjoy it with some really something sumptuous to eat. Like, it's giving. It was giving. So I'm just gonna go through couple by couple because I can't even remember how it started, because that took over so much that I don't even really remember how they even got to the commitment ceremony. I'm trying to think what happened before they entered the room. I think the first couple up were John and Abigail. And again, they're cushy, they're so happy. They get to the point where, he's saying that he's fallen for her. And actually, it's really cute because when you got all this drama going on with the likes of, Maeve and Joe and obviously Julia-Ruth and Divarni, it's really nice to see people actually happy. And they're just so besotted with each other. So when they're talking about like Love and Hate Week and how they find it really hard to find things that they hated about each other, but they both said the same thing about the fact that you're such an amazing person and having that kind of confidence and stuff within yourself. And I think, that's gonna be one of the best places to be. The worst thing about you is that you don't know how great you are. Imagine, and we're both saying the same thing. So he's like, I've fallen for you. Like I'm not even falling. I have fallen for you. And then Abby, he's like, oh, like you never know how to really describe the feeling. Do you know what I mean? And actually, when you've been in situations before, and you're like, actually, is it too soon for me to be in that situation again now? And like, I'm asking my friends and stuff like, how do you know? And they're like, you just know. And she's like, I just know. Like that was sweet. Like they are like perhaps I think next to Kieran David, I think like some of the cutest couples that we've ever had. Like that, and I'm so championing them. Like the absolute complete romantic inside of me is like, please let this be a genuine long term thing, because sometimes you can look at so many relationships out there that's breaking down left, right, and center. Who's deceiving who's sleeping with them, who's coming round when you don't know that like there's so much of that going on. So it's nice to see that a show of this caliber, like that is a TV show, can actually find people that genuinely want to be together. So I'm my fingers are crossed for these two. Then I think it goes to Leah and Leigh. Um, and again, I've warmed up to Leigh so much. Like I never thought I'd say that, because again, I didn't really like her. But you know what? I do feel a bit vindicated, because she's also spoken about the fact that she thought she was open and she wasn't. Whatever the reason is, those are her reasons. But the way she was coming across wasn't very nice, and it was quite cold. And everyone can see like how much she has like opened up, and like Leah's seen that as well, and they're talking about the date and how great the date was, and it's like all of her favorite things, and Leah's just like, whatever you said to her last week to kind of get her out of her head, it's just been amazing. So they're really happy. They weren't able to kind of like take anything further with the intimacy and stuff because, as she said, Mother Nature called. But it seems to be that even that being quite candid, and it sounds to me like there's some plans for some intimate loving that's coming. But what she did say was like it was kind of tainted a little bit by the fact that Julia-Ruth had kind of made like some comments regarding basically trying to upload onto them what was kind of going on with her relationship. So being like, oh, this is just a friendship. Like, your relationship is so dry. You're trying to like get yourself involved in my relationship because nothing's going on for you and yours. And Leigh was like, it just really felt like a bit of a kick in the teeth because we had such a great week. And then Leah's like, bun the feeling bad, like I'm actually peed off. And then the experts are like, yeah, but as long as you know what's going on with your relationship, like that's the main thing. And she's like, yeah, there's a difference between knowing what we know and lies. And I'm saying right now, yeah, I'm not here for the lies. And Julia-Ruth the whole time was kind of just scowling, kind of just scowling. So the experts like, look, you know what's going on with you guys. You guys are happy. Focus on that. Stay in that headspace, and just keep keep doing what you're doing. So as everyone's applauding and stuff, everyone's applauding them. Julia-Ruth didn't put her hands together. She did not put them hands together at all, and it's just so funny because even if Leigh and her weren't the closest, but I think they were. I think they still got on. I definitely saw that that Leah and her got on quite well. So, that's yeah, that's not a good look. That's not a good look. They Bailey and Rebecca, and they're really good. They speak about the argument that they had, um, and how actually it kind of brought them closer together. And actually, I can understand a bit more now as to why, like how the experts were talking about, how Rebecca did to respect his boundaries. And I thought they were talking about his physical boundary when like she was trying to touch him and stuff, and he was just like basically get your filthy hands off me. I thought it was that, but I think they were talking about his boundaries of, you set up this thing, you said you weren't going to answer this thing, you then answered that thing, and now he's now confused. And I think in that moment when she was like, having to sleep in separate rooms, and stuff, and like then realizing what life with that baby would look like, it really scared me. I was like, she's going to tell him that she loves him. She's going to tell him that she loves him. And lo and behold, she's like, oh, and that's the reason why, because if it goes any further, like having a life without him is what's going to scare me. And she's like, and that's why I was hesitant to say that I loved him. I was hesitant to say that I loved him. It was like, oh my gosh, you gonna say it, you gonna say it, and then she said it. And I just felt so happy for them because obviously he said it a while ago. And I think I don't know, like I guess it's like Paul was saying that so many people are scared of like conflict, and like I'm a big fan. Like I'm the first person to say that like my headspace I can't be dealing with conflict, but I think it's more I can't be dealing with conflict that cannot be resolved. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. But actually, when you can actually resolve conflict and and find a way out of it, I think it does make you stronger because you understand the person and I think there are some people that are willing to kind of have these kind of conversations. You know what I mean? They're willing to say these are the reasons in a non-judgmental, non-aggressive, non-like harmful way. These are the reasons that I was upset with what you did here, and then have that person receive it, even if in the height of it at that moment you can't do that, but at some point that you can talk it out. I think that's like ideal for anything, like relationship, friendship, whatever. Having someone that can at least have a conversation, like you can have your piece, say your piece, like they can have their piece, and then you can kind of reach a common ground and a conclusion. I guess that's what they were able to do. So yeah, man, I'm here for R&B. Here for R&B all day long. Then I think it was Reiss and Leisha, I think. And again, they seem pretty good. And they're talking about Love and Hate Week and how she he he didn't really bring up about the fact that she starts random arguments because I would have been talking about that butter. I'm telling you now because I still haven't got about that. But they did speak about the lack of spontaneity in the bedroom. So it is funny, man. He's like, look, it's bedtime in it. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a perfect time for a bit of that. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, everyone's just winding down. She wants it in the daytime, in the bathroom, in the kitchen. Like, I'm not a machine. And she was saying, look, I just don't want it to get boring. I don't want to get into a routine where it starts getting a bit dry, and I want to be open and stuff. And I think like Abby and John, is it John? His name's John, right? Is it John? Abigail and John. When they were talking about the fact that they spoke about the things that they like and the things that they don't like, and Charlene was saying there's a lot of people that don't do that. Now I can only speak from like the gay world, but those kind of conversations are sometimes paramount before people even say hello. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like here's a shopping list, yeah, of all the things that like I do like, I don't like, I'm not into, will never be into, actually am for. So the fact that I mean I don't know if this happens like in the straight world where people have those kind of conversations early on, but I think it's so important because like I know there are certain things, yeah, that people, certain people have attempted to do, and I've had to run them quick. And been like, this is never gonna fly. So I think it is important that people know like what their boundaries are, and like they said, you get that emotional connection before you get the physical one. So I think what they were trying to say to Leisha is that you're trying to, you want it this way, that way, all day, da, da, da. But actually, the emotional connection will come with that. Sorry, the emotional connection will bring that along. And actually, it's probably better that they do that rather than like try and force things ahead too far, because then you might end up in the situation that April and Leo are in. So yeah, they're pretty much good. Just keep taking the emotional connection and go with that. Then you've got Ashley and Grace, I think, are up next. And theirs was a difficult one, man. And I think, like I said in my last one, I I think the reason I was unable to kind of stand in any one corner and be like, no, I'm team Grace or no, I'm team Ashley, is because unless you're with them constantly, it's hard to see how these things that they're talking about are manifesting themselves. Because to me, like, I completely understand why he's fed up, but then I also completely understand why she's like, I can't, I can't win with you. So when she was explaining, you can see like that they're both in it, and they both really want it to work. And when she was like, all the things you said there, like, it's exactly what I want. So they've explained the situation, and they've talked about the humor. And Mel was like, okay, you're both funny people, we get that, but do you think that actually the humor you're using, you're doing that to kind of mask something else? So actually you never get in like to the heart of anything, and actually it's misfiring anyway. So maybe we have a conversation about where and how we use the humor, because again, you're both funny, but maybe when it's about something that actually affects someone else, or something about the relationship or things that are going wrong, that we don't use humor. But then I guess again there will be situations where you can. Cause he was like, in my life and stuff. Oh my god, there's a spider outside my window. Ah! In my life, I'll throw these things out, and then you kind of expect to get the bounce back. Which kind of makes her sound like Margie Proops. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you don't know how to bant. But she was like, listen, I'm from an Aussie family, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like, all we do is bant, but the bants that we do, yeah, they make sense basically. Like they're not things that are just going to be hurtful to someone. Because again, even like if you're doing like hurtful bants, ugh, it's so gross. Yeah, even if you're doing like hurtful bants and stuff, yeah, amongst your people, like they know how to take them, they know how to dish them. Do you know what I mean? It's different, but I feel like if it's things that you are having difficulty with, I think it's hard to make jokes about something that won't necessarily feel like a direct attack. So yeah, I felt it for the man, and I feel as though that they've got like a really good footing now to have a really good week. Like I'm so come on, Grace and Ashley. April and Leo. I said it in my last one. I'm gonna say it again. And especially now I've seen a preview of the next episode. I just feel like I don't think his cognitive function is as adept as hers. And that's not me calling him stupid or anything like that. I don't know him personally enough to do that, and I wouldn't dream to be so offensive. But there are certain people that just operate at a different frequency. Do you know what I mean? And their level of input or what they bring to the table. Like I've got certain friends of mine, not so much anymore, but people that I've known over the years where our conversation is so surface level that we will never be able to get down to, so what do you think of Nelson Mandela? Do you know what I mean? Like we would never be able to get to like anything deep, like, or like things that matter, or talking about things that happened in our past that like are shaping our future, like, because they're just not those kinds of people. And I feel if someone's been saying to you for the last week and a half now that like I need some deep conversation, I need something, and you're sat on the sofa telling them that like I've not been able to be my real self, and the two things you've seen of me are two different things, but I know that you'll get to see both of those things now because I'm going to make sure that I do that. You had ample opportunity. Like it's just you and her in the apartment. There's nobody else there. So what else do you need? I'm struggling, and I feel for her because she's like, I can tell that he really wants to make it work and he really likes her and stuff, and she probably is like, oh, in all these other aspects, like everything's great, but if you cannot connect on a deeper level, like what is the point? Do you know what I mean? Like you're just gonna feel like I need that, I need that wit, I need that fire, I need that person to be able to, it cannot just be an empty vase. Do you know what I mean? Vase. Am I American? Empty vase. Do you know what I mean? Like in Friends, it can't be that. So yeah, I know they've said they're gonna stay, and he's pledged that he's going to be like more vulnerable, and he's going to open up and show the two sides, and just that they can balance out so you can know that. Because I mean, if I kept hearing I'm seeing two sides of you, I'd be like, I just want you to be your authentic self so we can make a decision based on just that. All this I don't know how to be, and I don't know what to do with that. So yeah, as I said, I'm not hopeful about that one at all. David and Kia, and again the matchy, the country with the matchy. Rebecca and Bailey also did with the matchy too. I thought it was cool. Who else did I think looked good? I liked what Lee was wearing with her Erica Badu head wrapping. Yeah, Kieran David, and they, again, they're just so in love with each other. And I think they spoke about going to the Otters, how Kia did that for David and how happy he was that he did that. And there's just so much like jovial behavior between the two of them. So much, again, honest, frank, safe spaces, emotionally safe. They have been and continue to be one of the strongest couples. I did think when they left the couch that Kia was like, thank you so much for finding me my husband. I didn't know if that was kind of a dig to like Julia-Ruth to be like, like he said last night, I came for a husband. I got me mines. And I also noticed that when Leah and Leigh left the couch and stuff, that he was big to hug them up and hug them up deep as well. So I thought that was quite cool. Maeve comes up, and Maeve's obviously not with Joe. And then there's this whole conundrum with the whole Ashley knows this whole thing about Joe and hasn't told her thing, because the experts are just like, well, you need to do you, basically, and maybe it's time that you choose you. And I was like, she's gonna write leave. My thing is, again, I don't know how many like hurdles they've gone through to be on the show, but you needn't think I'm coming back to another commitment ceremony to sit here on my own. That is not happening. Sorry, because it's quite clear that he hasn't been clear with me. So I'm gonna sit here and not know what's going on, and just me one in the apartment, shivering myself to sleep. No, not doing that. Sorry, not being on TV looking like a mug. It's cool. Like if this was genuine, and this was something that you wanted to pursue, you've got my number. I'm sure you got my socials. Yeah, you can hit me up. But I'm not going to continue to sit here waiting and pining. Don't get me wrong. I know that he's got a funeral and stuff. But remember, these things weren't great before the funeral and before the bad news. And it just got progressively worse. And actually, if something like this can derail what we've got, bearing in mind that usually those things are, the kind of things that bring it together, it kind of tells me that we're on shaky ground anyway. So I don't know why she decided to stay. Personally, I think she should have gone. And then seeing the preview of the next episode, even more so. Like, you're gonna go to this retreat with the rest of them with no husband in tow, and then be like, I'm sat here like some. I'm sat here like some mug. Sorry, the spider. I don't know. I thought they were really good to kind of try and bigger up though, but I did think, Ashley, why are you talking? Because if you're not gonna give me the full story, I beg you just. Because why you now saying that? I'm gonna like, what's he told you? What's he told you? And I know you don't want to break his confidence, but then don't say anything. Don't. It's like them people that are like, oh, I should. Oh, I don't know what. Never mind. What? Oh, no, I shouldn't say. No, what you should have done is not tell me there's something that you shouldn't tell me, because now I know there's something that you can't tell me, and all I want to know is what you can't tell me. No, sorry, he should have kept that to himself. If you're not going to give me the full story, it's like when some people like they find out some tea, right, but they don't know all of the story, or they don't know all the information. Then what good are you to me? Then, do you know what I mean? Just shut up. Do you know what I mean? Just shut up. So I thought she was quite calm. To be honest, 'cause I thought she would have been like, well, tell us then. Tell us then. Is that quite your that Jodie? Tell us then. That's not at all, is it? I'm sorry about the accent. But either way, she'd be like, I need to know. I need to know what it is. Even though it should come from Joe, but it looks like he tells her anyway. And again, I get the fact that Joe has been away. He's got a lot going on, and actually, my head would be nowhere near this experiment if my nan was here and passed. Like, mate, I don't care about anything else. But something as big as I don't love you is something that I think shouldn't wait, really, and that someone shouldn't be sat there like just pontificating as to whether or not you might come back, and if you do come back, what's going to happen. So I do see why he's conflicted, but I would have told the whole truth then and been like, well, I'm going to just tell you what I know, and if it turns around that he's like, you shouldn't have told anyone, then I shouldn't have been in. I mean, it is hard though, because again, he's away because of a bereavement, so timelines and stuff are a bit skewed. So I guess I can still afford him some grace, like, but only if he was at least keeping her up to date. Like by him just being completely silent and saying nothing, like on the back of them not being great, it's now not just about him being away because of the funeral. I've got all these other things I just don't know about either. But at the same time, she can't message him and hound him because his focus, quite rightly, needs to be with his family. So it is a hard one. Actually, I kind of take that back about Ashley, because um he is right to protect Joe's confidence, because he came to him in confidence. Um, and I think actually by that point of seeing her breaking down again, like I think it'd be more than, well, I've given you another day. I'm giving you another day to say something, to make contact, to do something. But I don't think I could sit in front of someone crying in front of me about someone and not say something. Like, or I would have messaged them to say, I hope everything's okay. I hope everything's going all right, or as okay as it can be with the funeral. Um, bro, I feel like you do need to say something to Maeve, like whatever it is, like, but you need to say something to her, because I'm finding it really difficult, based on what you said to me, to not let her know, because she's pulling herself apart. Like, I think maybe that is a better way to go about it than out in the business, I guess. I don't know. I'll be intrigued to know, what would you do in that situation. Like, what would you do an Ashley eventually tell her? Would you not tell her? Would you speak to Joe first? Like, what would you do? Um, so yeah, so she writes stay. Now, the thing that I never thought that I would see, or that I would even say, Stephen and Nelly. I mean, Nelly dropped a whole heap of clangers at the end of her section, but the fact that they seem to be good, like genuinely good. The Love and Hate Week came at a great time. They were able to really thrash out these things that, I guess have been on their minds and stuff like that. So it came like literally just at the right time. To the point now where things that she was worried about, like, him saying that, I really hate the fact that you have to ask me for affection, as opposed to just grabbing my face and kissing me and stuff. And she's like, I just do that now. And she's like, but I've been able to do that because you've created a safe space for me to be able to want to do that, and to do that without feeling like I'm going to be rejected. So, like, they're talking about that, and he's like, oh, we've got back to the point of where we were, like week one. He's like, that was the Nelly that I loved. See what I mean? That was, and Mel's like, did I just hear you say the word loved there? And he's like, yeah, yeah, I do. So, as they're now talking about how great the week has been, and obviously, like, I have been one of, I mean, even my last video, I was like, potential narcissist. Remember, I said potential, not actual. Potential, Aggie, da, 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 da. Like, these are all qualities that I would not necessarily want my cousin or sister to be with. But I will give credit where credit is due, and it does look as though that, like, there's been, some improvement in the space that he's providing for Nelly, particularly when he was like, that how caring you are, and how mad it is that, like, you care about me so much, and you put me above yourself, like, and I guess when you're met with that level of kindness, you have to be an absolute Trumpian, yeah, to not recognize that and be like, actually, you know what, like, wow, what an amazing heart that you have. Like, how could I possibly ever treat you bad? So, maybe he has had his epiphany. As I said, I don't want to let him off the hook too easy, because I think there's been a lot, man. There's been a lot, and I think for me, once I know you've got that in you, like, I know it's all nice and nice and nice now, but what about the next time there's a disagreement? Because that's my thing. If we can disagree, and but we can disagree well, yeah, where there's still respect, and there's still, a coming together, then bless them. I mean, I don't mind us having disagreements, but what I cannot forget is how you dealt with me, yeah, when you were annoyed, because, like, I should be a little bit different to your friend and company outside, as my mom used to tell me. Do you know what I mean? Like, your friend and your company ain't in here. Do you know what I mean? So don't talk to me like you're talking to them. And that was instilled in me from early. So anyone that I'm close to, like, don't get me wrong, you may get a very stern tone from me. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I'm never gonna cuss you out your name. And start telling you about your bleep bleep and a bleep bleep, go suck out your bleep bleep. Like, that's not gonna happen. Unless I'm already at DEFCON 1 and I'm like, well, there's no salvaging this. Let me tell you about your mama. Do you know what I mean? So, um, So yeah, so they're all good. So then Nelly's like, but there was one thing that actually I'm not happy about. So she brings up the fact that Julia-Ruth said that if there's one other husband who should be attracted to, and then it would be Steven. And she was like, I knew this because I could just tell there were little things. When he told a joke, she'd laugh a little bit too hard. Now I just thought this was a thing that they say in the movies that girls do. Do you know what I mean? With that. Like, I didn't know that's what people actually do. That's crazy. Obviously Nelly's picked up on it. I've been like, oh, okay, cool. But then she goes, Julia-Ruth went out with some of the other wives and whatever else that she fancies Steven. He has to stay for another 2 weeks so she could be here for partner swap. I beg your pardon. She said what? So she wanted to stay, yeah, so she can be here for partner swap. So when I'm talking about how I don't know whether the show's this or show's that, because I feel like it's really scripted and like every year there's a partner swap. I can understand, yeah. Like, I mean, not understand. Understand is the wrong word. Like, I can see why somebody that might have come on that show would be expecting that there will be some kind of partner swap, because for the last 3 years, or however many years there has been a partner swap. People have swapped and cheated, and as I said, got their phones out and been texting, and while the other one's out and about, they're on some secret date. Like, so what do you want to do? So I'm not surprised that that is a mentality that somebody might have. But what I am surprised of is that it's something that is so. It's so brazen to be spoken about, and I think the show has got to take responsibility for that, because how is it possible that every season you've got somebody swapping to the point now you've got couples being just like, no, I'll stay with Ugo or Platter as long as I can be here in 2 weeks time so I can actually do my partner swap with the one I actually like. But to know that's what she actually said, and obviously Julia-Ruth is like, no, this is crazy. Like, people are talking, like, it's too much now, and she's doing up her hair because it's getting hot. She's getting hot. But it's too much now. It's too much. But I'm like, you see you brought you. I believe them. Where would that come? Why would that, of all the things, yeah, just materialize out of thin air? Where would that come from? Where would that come from? Like, so I know she's denying it, but I'm like, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. They were like a unit. Nelly started off by saying that, like, oh, I felt like I didn't have his back the way that I should have done and stuff. So they're really presenting unit. They're really presenting unit. So yeah. So then, and what I found was really funny as well. The other ex. And Steven makes it very clear, just like, listen, I am a one-man woman. I am a Nelly man woman. I am not interested in no other gal in this experiment. So, just want to make that clear. These are all the things I love about Nelly, and that's why I'm staying. So, again, I can put credit where credit's due, because I'm just like, in that moment, like, they were like a unit. Nelly started off by saying that, like, oh, I felt like I didn't have his back the way that I should have done and stuff. So they're really presenting unit. They're really presenting unit. So yeah. So then, and what I found was really funny as well. The other experts, they're the ones kind of like entering into the other people's like relationships and stuff. But I noticed, I was like, Paul ain't said nothing for a while. Well, I know now why. Because he was waiting and set for Julia-Ruth. So when he calls him over, he's just like, nah, just let you guys know, this will be challenging. I'm like, buckle me up. Buckle me up. So they're like, right, so Divarni, take us through what happened like at the spa retreat and stuff, and like he's telling them about how everything was great until it got to the intimacy part, and that everyone basically was saying that like your relationship ain't gonna last because you guys ain't it's by now it should have progressed, and what I think is really funny is they probably were doing that because they knew the kind of things that Julia-Ruth has been saying So in their head, even as they said actually later on, like, we just think you're being delusional, because by now you should have moved it to something, like, because they know that she's not interested. So like, even if he's interested and trying to put a move on or whatever, the fact that she has told them all that she's so not interested, and he's sat here being just like, yeah, me and Julia-Ruth, and they're like, no mate, like, no. So let me tell you, I don't think so. Now I understand when I was saying that, like, I don't get why they'd pick Julia-Ruth and Divarni. I mean, this is just a theory, but I was like, why would they pick Julia-Ruth and Divarni as the couple to least likely to succeed, like, after the experiment's over people like Nelly and Steven? But I get it now, because I guess even with all of Steven's behaviour, he's not out here when it's like, oh, I cannot stand Nelly. She's never going to be my type. She never will be my type. Whereas Julia-Ruth has been saying all these things, like, been saying all these things to all of them. So as Divarni's explaining and stuff, and Paul's like, so why did you have a pact? What made you decide to do that, or when did you decide to make the pact? And he turned to Julia-Ruth, like, so when did we? And Paul's like, whoa, is you me I ask? And he's like, oh, and he couldn't really give a date as to when. So Julia-Ruth, obviously, she's still just like taking it all in and stuff, because like everyone else starts basically chiming in. Paul's just like, so you've been lying? It's like, and so there's been lies upon lies, and not only have you betrayed like the process, and obviously quite rightly your friends are obviously like blindsided as well, but you've just wasted so much time. So Paul's just like, so how did it get from you leaving that petition and basically being just like, it's over, to you then walking in hand in hand? He's like, I think everyone was quite shocked by that. And he was like, well, we had 3 days apart and stuff, and then we came back together, and then we were able to thrash it out and thrash out all of her stuff, and she was vulnerable, and we came to some understandings and stuff. And Paul's like, so do you think that you were able to thrash it out, or do you think that you were worked? And he's like, look, I think you have been hoodwinked. I think you've been bamboozled. I think you've been mugged up. I think you've been had in every kind of way here, dude. And he's like, and if you do not get out of this now, yeah, this is going to be harmful to you and in lots of other parts of your life. And Divine is like, look, basically, he's still defending her. Being like, I'm not going to say that she is a terrible person. Like, yeah, her behavior might have been bad in these situations and stuff, but like, she's not a bad person per se. And then she pipes up being like, oh, you're making out that like I'm some kind of master manipulator, and that, I made him do this pact. And she's like, no, this is something that we came to together. Like, we both decided together not to talk about it until we were ready. I can own the fact there are things that I've done that aren't right, but like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that like I've made him. He's his own person. He's got his own mouth. I told him he can leave at any point. And I do kind of agree with that a little bit. Like, I feel as though that while she might be like, yeah, okay, cool, I'm the one that planted this. We're gonna have we're not gonna talk about this. We're gonna make a pact and stuff. Like, at the same time, Divarni, we've actually seen episodes where he is ready to rear off his mouth, so I think this kind of like, oh, Divarni don't know what's going on, and all that. Like, I'm not saying that like she is a saint here, but I also don't believe that he is like incapable of being able to like join up some dots together and go, actually, do you know what, I'm not really gonna have that. Granted, he may not have known about how she was out here chatting out his name to all and sundry, because then the rest of the group, like Leigh, was just like, I'm calling absolute BS. I've never seen someone sit on a couch and lie so much in my life. Like, she's like, you, like, from the get-go, you said that you don't like Divarni. Like, and everyone was just like, he's not your type. He never will be your type. You've bagged on him from the absolute beginning that you're not interested in him. And now, all of a sudden, you're like, yeah, you are my type, and I want to move forward with you. And she's like, what? This is a crock of crap. So they're all calling her out for it, and it's coming from all angles. And Paul's like, I don't think I've ever seen in unison so many people call someone out for something. Yeah, and what does that say? So does that say that like all these people are wrong? Like, all these people have got it wrong, and that Julia's version of events are the truth? And because I think there was a moment where she could have kind of got away with it had they not been like, we are the receipts. We're the people that you've told that you don't want nothing with Divarni. So you can't now sit here and be like, the preacher's wife being all like, yeah, like actually it's me and my man. We're the ones that are in this. We're the ones that need to talk about it. We don't need to hear nothing about it. You can't do that because you already lavished up your mouth and told everybody else about your secret plan to end up with Steven with the wife swap. And then you told everyone, my mouth's so juicy. And then told everyone, told everyone else that would listen, yeah, how you didn't rate Divarni. So Paul's just like, end of the day, this is now down to you. What do you want to do, Divarni? And then go to the decision. And he's like, I don't need to be here, so that's the reason I need to, and it ends on a cliffhanger. But to me, there's no hanger to cliff. No cliffhanger required, because what do you mean? If after all of that, because in the preview clip we don't see no Divarni, we don't see no Julia-Ruth, but I don't know if that's just deliberate editing, so we don't know. If I ever see him on that retreat, you see all the apologies that I made, and how I was like, actually, you know what, Divarni, I will take them back with the haste to which Julia-Ruth told everybody else that she never liked you. Because what do you mean, presented with all of the evidence and all of the information, if at any point you sit down there and fix your fingers to right state, after your business. Because some people you can't tell them, Some people you cannot tell them. And this is why my sister said this. And it's something that I need to adopt, but I'll probably adopt it in a more secretive way. Because she tells them, I don't. So she's like, listen, a friend of mine, has got 2 opportunities, to talk about their situation, right? So the first one, we can talk about it, that's advice, sound it out, cool, I don't mind being there for that, not a problem. See, the second one, this one comes a little bit more okay, we're going to be a bit more focused on this one. We're going to be a bit more assertive with the advice, because just understand, there's no third time. I mean, it's just the 2 time you get. So after that second time, okay, cool, we know the action plan, safe. You see, that third time, lose my number. I don't want to hear no more about that situation, because you want to stop in that situation and you want everybody else to be embroiled in that negative, endless spiral that you want to remain in. That's you. Safe. No problem. You stay with that low vibrational waste man or waste girl. That's your business. But I'm not about to keep listening to it. Sorry. I got things to do. That do not incorporate listening to the same said crap. Sorry. So if that's what Divarni wants to do, cool. That's what I'm saying. There's no more sympathy for me. Absolutely none. So it best be leave. Oh dear. But yeah, man, that was a juicy episode. And again, I did feel a little bit like the dinner party that people were ganging up on her and stuff, on Julia-Ruth, and I felt bad. But after hearing all the plotting, and Nelly said it best, she's like, how are you going to be giving me advice on my relationship with this man, and the same day you're out there telling people how you got some secret plan to do wife swap with him in 2 weeks time, and that's the only reason you need to stay? You are a ginnel. You are an absolute jankro and a ginnel. That is terrible. Absolutely terrible. And I'm just trying to think, was it worth it? I mean, look, if you want to be infamous, a bit like that one, was it Inez, from one of the Married at First Sights, and she was terrible. She didn't give a blouse not about nobody. And I'm married to who, friend of who. Do you know what I mean? So if that's what you wanted, then cool. But you're now gonna be that girl. You're gonna be that girl. It's not really a girl's girl, and also the kind of girl that makes out that a guy is really terrible. Really terrible, and actually can lie. And even Charlene was like, we're asking if you're attracted to your husband and stuff, and she's like, yeah, but everyone was like, you are talking rubbish. You've never been attracted to him, and now all of a sudden you're attracted to him. And when Divarni was like, I don't think she is, Charlene was like, yeah, but you're sleeping together. Mate, that makes how are you sleeping with someone that you're not attracted to? It was an absolute car crash. It's why they saved it till last. It's why they left it till Paul to deal with, and he did not give her an easy time at all. He really made sure that she knew that she had effed up. We see you. Yeah, we see you. There's no more smoke and mirrors now. There's no more manipulation here. We see it all. So, as I said, I don't know whether this is orchestrated by the show to make it more entertaining or whatever, or if this is just born out of something that she decided she wanted to do. But either way, this would not be what I would want my legacy to be. Like Shilpa Shetty once said to get Jay Goody, yeah, movie reactions, like musicals, music, etc., etc. Then do head over to my Patreon, which is a great way to help support the channel, and it's a great way to connect with me more as well. But for now, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.